you for your kind introduction. My name is Inamori. Today, I would like to talk about partnership management that values employees, to give some of my ideas to you. First of all, I would like to look back when I established Kyocera. When I graduated from university, I joined a company that was involved in fine ceramics. And it was a very satisfying result for me to work on commercializing the materials that I developed. However, 3 years after joining this company, my manager and I had a difference of opinion, so I decided to leave the company. At that time, I had very fortunate friends who appreciated my research and supported the establishment of my company. One of them even mortgaged his house to finance my business. And with 7 colleagues who believed in me, who said they would follow me, I founded Kyocera in 1959. I had 27 employees with 3 million yen in capital, and we started our business in a rented building. I did not have any experience in or knowledge of management, so I was always racking my brains, searching for the essence of what is good management. I was young, and the only experience I had was as an engineer, but I had to perform duties as a manager. This heavy responsibility kept me awake at nights. After much anguish, I reached the conclusion that the most important aspect was the human mind. If we look back on history, we can find examples of the great accomplishments achieved through unifying human minds. For example, the Meiji Restoration, which modernized Japan, or the American independence movement, were achieved through determination and team spirit among the people. In contrast, there are many examples of the collapse of organizations and groups where the underlying cause was the ruin in people's hearts. Human minds can be fickle and uncertain, yet once people understand and believe in each other, there is nothing stronger or more reliable than the human mind. We had very meager amount of resources in terms of people, capital, and facilities in which to manage our business. We were almost unknown and had almost no credibility. Under these conditions, I thought that the only way for our company to survive was to build trusting relationships and rely on the bonds of human minds. Soon after I established Kyocera, I experienced an incident that convinced me once again that the important element for managing a company was management based on the bonds of human minds. It made me think about what the true purpose of managing a company would be. During the second year of my business, I hired about 10 new high school graduates. After they worked for a little over a year, and after I had begun to view them as experienced employees, they brought me a signed letter with a number of demands which amounted to collective bargaining. The letter demanded guaranteed work conditions, a minimum pay raise, and an annual bonus for each employee in the future. I had told them during the interview process that I don't know what I can do, but I will do my best to make Kyocera an excellent company. And I asked them whether they would like to work in such a company. They understood my condition, I thought, and joined the company. But after only 1 year, they were issuing demands, saying, unless you can guarantee us these things for the future, we will quit. I responded to them that I could not agree to their demands. It had only been 3 years since Kyocera had been established, and I was not sure about the future of our company. I was only earnestly thinking that if I worked incredibly hard, we could survive. I didn't have a clear vision for the future. If I promised to meet their labor demands, it would have been a lie, and I could not make a promise when I didn't have the confidence or certainty that I would be able to meet their demands. We did not finish our discussions at the office, so we went to my home to continue. I was living in municipal housing at the time. They stubbornly resisted my efforts to persuade them, and our discussions lasted for 3 days and nights. No matter how earnestly I explained myself, they did not agree with me. They said capitalists always sweet-talk and deceive workers. So I said, I have no desire to work only for myself as a business leader to succeed. I want to grow Kyocera into a company where all employees will be happy that they joined. Why don't you take a chance on me and find out if my words are true or false? I intend to work hard and grow this company even if my life is at risk. If I betray you by doing a lousy job or work only for my own selfish benefit, you can kill me if you like. As a result of this discussion, they withdrew their demands, and they did not quit the company. They worked harder than ever before. This incident gave me an opportunity to learn the principles of managing a business. Until then, my original motivation had been, as an engineer, to prove that my technology would be appreciated by society. And as the second son of 7 brothers and sisters, I was expected to take care of my parents and younger siblings in Kagoshima. This incident made me realize that I needed to struggle to support the employees of my company, not just my family obligations, the employees that were not even related to me. And I was filled with anxiety and realized, what have I started? I realized that the purpose of managing a company was not to realize my personal dreams, but must be to provide for the well-being and livelihood of all the employees and their families, now and in the future. I felt this way because there was a general public perception in Japan at the time that a company should guarantee lifetime job security. So I listed as a top priority of management to pursue both the material and intellectual growth of all employees, to contribute to the progress and development of mankind and society. I added to the Kyocera philosophy so that we could be a responsible member of society. This is what I set out as our management rationale. Almost 50 years have passed since then, and I believe that the secret to Kyocera's success is that we have been following the management rationale for the material and intellectual growth of all our employees. Kyocera was founded on strong spiritual bonds that we had with each other, and which we have continued to this day. By placing this bond at the core of our management, I was able to avoid selfish motivations as a leader and develop myself fully toward achieving the happiness of our employees. Our employees have placed their complete trust in our company and used their abilities to the fullest. I also strive to make Kyocera a highly profitable company so that we can realize the material and intellectual growth of all our employees. Many Japanese companies are satisfied with single-digit profit margins, but we have strived to become a company that always earns a double-digit pre-tax profit. I've thought profit is what you are left with after subtracting expenses from revenues. Therefore, if we maximize revenues and minimize expenses, the result will be profit. So we have faithfully adhered to this principle: maximize revenues and minimize expenses in managing the companies. Consequently, we've been able to realize a minimum of 10% pre-tax profit and a maximum of over 40% profit. So with these profits, we have retained earnings within the company. As a result, Kyocera has become a highly profitable company of top quality. And the CPAs describe our balance sheets as being beautiful. We've been one of the most financially healthy companies in Japan with an excellent balance sheet. Kyocera has currently a cash that we can use at any time for about 600 billion yen, approximately 6.7 billion US dollars, and about 400 billion yen, 4.5 billion yen in unrealized assets such as stocks. So our total retained earnings amount to approximately 1 trillion yen, $11.2 billion. As we have retained such large earnings, even during this recession, we can go forward without borrowing from banks.
So my management style has been criticized by some U.S. investors who value ROE, and they say that I should raise the ROE, they should not hoard profits, and they should return the profits to the stockholders and use them for company acquisitions and capital investment and reduce the equity capital. But I have never listened to that sort of opinion or criticism. For shareholders who own our stocks for short periods, it may be true that it would be better to increase the dividends and have a higher ROE or return on equity. However, in the long run, to achieve stable operations for the material and intellectual growth of all of our employees, I think the most important thing is to be able to withstand whatever problems we might encounter in a long recession. So we need the most important thing is to create a strong financial foundation. In other words, I think that management that just values a return on equity is a type of management that values shareholders and short-term profits. But I have always valued employees and tried to use a long-term perspective to manage my companies. But my management style, that doesn't mean that my management style does not or neglects the shareholders. I'm convinced that the company can achieve continuous growth by valuing its employees and having them exercise their powers to the fullest. In the long run, I think that this will actually maximize the shareholders' interests. So my partnership style of management is created it's based on the bond of human minds to create trust in management-employee relations within the company. That doesn't mean that I indulge the employees or that I always accommodate and accept whatever the labor union may demand us. I always set high goals for us, and I work together with the employees, with the management, to achieve those goals. With these sorts of high goals, sharing the same philosophies and the same sorts of hopes with the employees and working together to achieve them, I put together a management style that I call management that aligns our vectors. By showing what kind of direction we have in management clearly to employees, the manager can align the vectors of all the employees, just like shining a light through a lens, a convergent light through a lens which intensifies its powers towards a common goal. So I think that the most important thing is to share the same philosophy. We have people who come together in an organization who are born in different places, they're raised in different environments. So as a business leader, I have to explain that what sort of management we're going to have, what sort of management direction we're going to have, and ensure that everybody understands it. This is not an easy thing to do. So in my case, whenever I've had the chance, I always talk to the employees. I always grabbed hold of them and I told them I wanted to develop the company in this or that way, and with this sort of philosophy, and that we needed to have this sort of philosophy and this sort of attitude in order to accomplish this. When the employees heard me say these things, some of them, I could see that some of them had a sparkle in their eyes and they were agreeing or nodding earnestly, but others had a sort of a vacant look or a glassy-eyed look, and they didn't seem to understand anything. I tried to explain my philosophy repeatedly to them for hours on end until they all understood and agreed to it from the bottom of their hearts. Many people think that I shouldn't spend so much time trying to persuade my employees to do these things, that it's better just to make them work as hard as possible. But I always kept talking to employees until they could fully understand my explanation, and we could share the same philosophy. In the event that an employee could not share the philosophy in the same manner, in spite of my efforts, if they couldn't align their vectors with the company, then I would ask them, if they couldn't align their vectors, I would have to ask them to leave the company, or we would both become unhappy. This was the extent of my efforts. But I think as a result, we established wonderful human relationships within the company, and that was because of diligently explaining the philosophy to employees. And the employees didn't mind sharing any kind of hardships with me, and they were willing to try they were willing to work harder than anyone else. They were willing to exert themselves more than anyone else because of these strong relationships that we had. And it's very important, I think, to raise or foster employees who can arise to these challenges in new fields, especially in today's environment when we have a recession. I think that human relationships within a company are even more important. You might even say that a recession is like a litmus test to test the relationships between an employer and employees.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd really like to ask you to join me to thank Dr. Inamori Kazuo for his wonderful lecture and his willingness to answer all these questions. どうも今日はどうもありがとうございました。